Hello and welcome our beloved viewers to RTD's News English Edition. As usual, we begin tonight with the major and top highlights. Let's follow. Launch of the folic acid, a micronate and deworming campaign for adolescents, health and menfolk. And on the international scene in Ukraine, Marpol on the verge of falling into Russian hands. Those were our major top highlights, our beloved viewers. Welcome back to our newsroom. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Ghadir Kamil Mohammed, decorated today the honor group Abu Ahmed, Mr. Abdurrahman Ahmad Taha, with the Medal of Officer of the National Order of June 27th. The Prime Minister praised his noble services to the country and society over the past decades. The tribute ceremony took place in the presence of Parliamentary Representative Ali Zaid Ashadali. It is worth noting that Abu Ahmed Group has been working for decades in many sectors of trade and also actively contributes to the development programs and projects undertaken by the government under the leadership of President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh. The group is currently financing the rehabilitation project of the bus stop in Mahmoud Harbi Square. In an interview granted to the national channel, the owner of Abu Ahmed Group addressed his sincerest thanks and granted to the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, to the First Lady, Mrs. Khadra Mahmoud Haid, the Prime Minister, to all members of the government, as well as the people of Djibouti. Without a doubt, this honor will push me forward in the service of my country from my position as Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Abu Ahmed Group, which has enjoyed great popularity within the Djiboutian community for decades. The activities of our group are not limited only to the commercial aspect, but we actively contribute to the efforts of supporting and caring for the needy group of the country's population, affirmed Mr. Abdurrahman Ahmad Taha. Finally, he stressed that his group, Abu Ahmed, will always remain loyal to the country, the Republic of Djibouti, and will spare no effort to keep peace and the process of construction and development led by the President of the Republic. The decoration of the CEO of the group, Abu Ahmed, Mr. Abdurrahman Ahmed Taha, of the Medal of Officer of the National Order of June 27 is a title amply deserved. Mr. Abdurrahman Ahmed Taha is very active in the commercial activities, but also in the promotion of general culture and Islamic culture and history of the country through a partnership with the Radio Television of Djibouti. Thanks to the sponsoring of the Abu Ahmed Group and the collaboration of the RTD, an interactive Ramadan contest is organized every year in the digital studio with the participation of students from Arabic schools and the University of Djibouti. The theme of the contest is general culture, religion, and history of Djibouti. This rich and very instructive program is estimated by Mahad Abdi Roble with a jury composed of Shakir Ali and Faisal Ahmed. A flagship program very well followed by the Djiboutian Republic, with in addition to the participation of the public who can participate in the program. Moreover, Abdurrahman Ahmed Taha, president of the group Abu Ahmed Finance and CEO, organizes daily programs during Ramadan on general and religious culture in three languages, Arabic, Afar, and Somali. These are interactive programs with the participation of the inhabitants of the districts of the capital and the regions of the interior. These programs entitled in Somali and Radi Kogalto in Afar are animated by Shakir Ali and Ali Mumin with the contribution of Mahad Abdi. All these programs started on the first day of Ramadan, Saturday, April 2022 at the RTD studio in the capital market and will be produced and broadcasted until the end of the blessed month of Ramadan. The partnership between the Abu Ahmed Group and Radio Television of Djibouti is an important factor for the reinforcement of the capacity in general culture, religion, and history of Djibouti through the contests organized every year on the television and the market of Djibouti. The President of the National Assembly, His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Ali Hamad, received today the representative of the United Nations system in Djibouti, Mrs. Joni Barhona. The meeting took place in the Hall of Honor of the Parliament in the presence of the Director of Cabinet, Mr. Idris Mohammed Ahmed. Speaking first, the Speaker of Parliament welcomed his guest of the day while congratulating him on his appointment as a special representative of the UN Secretary General. Furthermore, the head of the Parliament assured the resident coordinator of his collaboration and support in the exercise of his missions. In the usual introduction, President Ahmed considered that it would be interesting for the non-governmental organizations working under the banner of the United Nations to make an annual presentation before the national representation of the activities and achievements of the NGOs. Indeed, the exercise will allow not only to popularize the active of the UN organization, but also to establish establish a lasting trust between the population and its key actors of development. For his part, Mr. Jose thanked the PAN for its welcome and its availability. This first meeting is also an opportunity to discuss priorities in the collaboration between the United Nations and the national organization. It is important to recall that the United Nations is very committed to the achievement of the SDGs, which are consonant with the ambitions of the Republic of Djibouti. It is with great pleasure and interest that I take note of your proposal and will combine our effort to contribute the development of the Republic of Djibouti and carry out more actions alongside parliamentarians, including taking part in next parliamentary caravan in the regional conference of very high level that will be organized in collaboration with the Interparliamentary Union, said Mr. Jose. At the end of the visit, the two personalities committed themselves to further strengthen their collaboration, especially on the ground and through concrete actions. The Minister of Economy and Finance, Mr. Ilyas Musa Dawali, participated today in the afternoon in the 12th meeting of the Ministerial Roundtable of the Horn of Africa Initiative, which took place in Washington as part of the annual meetings of the World Bank and the IMF. In video conference, this hybrid meeting brought together the Ministers of Finance and their delegations from Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia, Eritrea, Sudan, as well as the Secretary of the Office, the African Development Bank, the European Union, and the World Bank, and finally, IGAD. The meeting reviewed the current dynamics of the region, the state of preparation and implementation of projects, but also reviewed policy actions to promote regional integration and considered priorities for the coming months. During this month, the Minister of Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawali, in his speech mentioned the crisis in the Horn of Africa, but also expressed the urgency to help Somaliland, which was hit by a fire with huge losses. Finally, Mr. Queen Doins, Director General of the Department of International Cooperation, announced the financing of Djibouti-Somaliland-Ethiopia road accessed by the European Union. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble, and the Minister of Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, took part this morning in the launching ceremony of the folic acid and macronutrient supplementation and deworming campaign for absolute girls aged 10 to 19 years. Beforehand, the survey will determine the height, weight, and body mass indexes and comply antibiotic data used to assess the natural stature of adult girls. The nutritional needs of adult girls are similar to those of children, but greatly increased by premature development. In view of the often disordered eating behaviors of adolescent girls, it is necessary to respond appropriately to help them maintain or restore a balanced diet. The Minister of Health indicated that these adolescents deserve special attention in a policy of provision of health risks related to malnutrition. All this through a close coordination between the two departments to monitor the good nutritional status of adolescent girls who later as mothers will reduce mortality and maternal fetal morbidity in the Republic of Djibouti. The Minister of Health recalled that the recurrent problems of anemia and malnutrition among adolescent girls cause major complications such as stunted growth and learning difficulties in school. With MEMFOP, we are going to remediate this by setting up a program to combat stunting in schools. First, we will conduct an anthropological survey to know the nutritional status of each adolescent girls. Young people from 10 to 15 years old will be the subject of this survey, which will allow us to target the cases of deficiencies for supplementation in folic acid and micronutrients. In the morning of Thursday, April 21, 2022, a handover between Mrs. Fatuma Awali Usman, the outgoing mayor of the city of Djibouti, and Mr. Saeed Dawood Mohammed, the incoming mayor, took place in the premises of the City Hall of the city of Djibouti. This handover took place in the presence of Mr. Usman Biligere, prefect of the city of Djibouti, the Minister of Decentralization, Mr. Qasim Haroun, the Minister of Interior, Mr. Saeed Nuh, and focused mainly on the transfer of the list of available materials, the list of staff, accounts of the City Hall, the list of projects of files underway, and the list of records. The transfer of service took place under good conditions and in a friendly atmosphere. It focused mainly on the transition of the registers available and stopped at the date of handover. As part of the close relations between Djibouti and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, our country, represented by the Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity, received yesterday a donation of 50 tons of dates. The ceremony of reception of this important quantity of dates took place at the headquarters of the Saudi Embassy in Djibouti in the presence of the Charge of the Affair of the Embassy, Mr. Abdul Hadi, as well as a high-level delegation of the King Salman Center for Humanitarian Affairs led by Mr. Suleiman. On the Djibouti side, the ceremony was attended by the senior advisor of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Firmins, who thanked Saudi Arabia for this noble gesture, in which reflects the good relationship existing between the two brotherly countries. Let us recall that the ministry will distribute this gift to the most vulnerable families. The National Laboratory of Food Analysis, LANA, has withdrawn from the market yesterday frozen pizzas called Fresh Up brand Bunini imported from abroad. This control intervention comes after the recall of frozen pizzas of the brand Butini contaminated by E. coli bacteria, according to the National Laboratory of Food Analysis. The seizure of frozen pizzas Fresh Up of the company Butini has been operated after the sale of the local market in order to protect the health of consumers and ensure food safety. Recall that this ban on the sale of pizzas consumption does not affect other imported frozen pizzas. By the same token, Lana thanks the importers concerned for their collaboration in implementing these recall measures and for contributing to the destruction of these contaminated products according to the procedures enforced in order to ensure food safety and protect the health of our citizens. The Embassy of the Republic of Djibouti, actuated to the Kingdom of Morocco, organized during the evening of Saturday, April 16, 2022, a reception of community iftar at the Villa Jawahara in the city of Rabat. During this reception, His Excellency Mr. Mohammed, the Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the Kingdom of Morocco, received honorably all the Djiboutians and come from all the regions of the Kingdom of Morocco to take place in this Djiboutian evening of Ramadan, organized for the union of our national residing to the territory of the Kingdom of Morocco. As they arrived at the Wahara Reception Center, all the students, some representatives of the diaspora, trainees from the different institutions of our country, have all individually greeted our head of the diplomatic mission in Morocco before taking their place of honor in the Packet Hall. The ambassador addressed a short speech to the students in Morocco, who were all very enthusiastic to be together to share a fantastic moment of conviviality between Djiboutians. Last but not least, in the national context, the King Fahd Sports Complex played 2 games of volleyball and basketball as part of the launch of the Open Ramadan Tournament. Organized under the auspices of the Secretary of State for Sports, the competition that will last until the end of this month have brought together about 20 teams per discipline in a festive and friendly atmosphere. For this launching in the discipline basketball, the team of Hodan District inflicted a correction to the one of Seska, which is 53-12. The RGS for it made a good deal in volleyball by coming to end the team of the City Sheikh Osman to set of 0. In addition to the Secretary of State of Sports, His Excellency Mr. Hassan Mohammed Kamil, the receiving ends of the SES, Mrs. Khadija Ibrahim Idris, and several other officials and members of the SES. The public was not left out either and responded throughout the meetings. Shifting gears towards the international scene now, the fighting intensified Wednesday in the east and south of Ukraine, where the Russian army seemed close to seizing the strategic port of Mariupol, Kyiv. However, receiving increasing support from Europeans and the United States, including heavy weapons. We will do everything possible to support you and ensure that Ukraine wins the war, said in Kyiv. The president of the European Council, Charles Michel, who came to meet President Volodymyr Zelensky, he promised that sanctions would soon target Russian oil and gas exports, as requested by Mr. Zelensky. Well, by this, our blood viewers, we conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening and take care. Thank you once again for joining us.